What's up, everybody? Corona. Rob here at your service once again. Welcome back to Godzilla Week. Woo! Yeah! Ah. Okay, that's enough of that. Today we have a tier list of my favorite kaiju. Basically, like me ranking all the different kaiju from the movies. There's quite a lot of them. I don't even think this is all of them, to be honest, but I know it's most of the mainline kaiju that are in specifically the Godzilla films. I know there's other Toho monsters. Believe there's a couple of other... Like, it doesn't have any of the kaiju from any of the new Legendary Pictures ones. So there's definitely stuff missing, but these are, like, the main kaiju you see in the main films. So, yeah, without further ado, let's do this. Let's rank some Godzilla monsters. I'm stoked. Yeah. I don't know. Let's do it. So, of course, starting out, come on. Do I have to do I really have to say anything else here? The king of the monsters, Godzilla himself. Come on. Looks like they actually ranked them in order of appearance, by the way, which is pretty cool. But yeah, come on, man. I have to put Godzilla in S tier. I mean, it's Godzilla, you know? I got nothing else to say about it. He's badass. He's awesome. He's the big reason why we all love these films. So, yeah, Godzilla gets S tier. Anguirus, who was Godzilla's first rival in the whole series, gets S tier as well because he is my personal favorite kaiju. There, in terms of like him being powerful and everything, he's kind of more middle of the road. He kind of gets his ass kicked a lot in some of the later Showa films. Well, really, he's pretty much gotten his ass kicked in most of the films. But there's still something about him. They kind of went with the Ankylosaurus design, which I always really liked. And he's just cool. He's got a lot of personality to him, more than some of the other kaiju. And I hope he has a big return soon because he was essentially like Godzilla's, I guess you would say, partner in crime, or, well, Godzilla was not a hero, but he was definitely the protagonist in a lot of the Showa films, and Anguirus was sort of his, like, right-hand man in those films, so it'd be nice to see Anguirus really come back and become really relevant. So, yeah, Anguirus is my favorite. I love his cry. I think he's awesome. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. Love him. And we're starting out strong here. S tier to Rodan. I mean, Rodan first appeared in his own film called Rodan, which I have not seen, actually. I really want to watch that, and Mothra. I haven't seen either of those movies. But that being said, I love Rodan. He's not in enough Godzilla movies, particularly for how popular he is. But I think he's a great kaiju. I really love him in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 from the Heisei period, especially when he becomes Fire Rodan. Love it. Yeah, Rodan is great. Love his design. He has some pretty badass moments throughout the series, but he's also just not in the movies enough for some reason, which I don't understand. Both of these guys, Rodan and Anguirus, should both be in more Godzilla films. That's my opinion. So, yeah, love them both. We got Varan here, who I'm going to give like a C tier. I like his design. I've never seen Varan the Unbelievable, which was another early Toho film. And he really hasn't popped in very much in too many Godzilla movies. He was in, I believe the first Godzilla movie he was in was Destroy All Monsters, and he had a very, very minor part in that movie. He really got overshadowed by a lot of the other kaiju. He's cool enough, but they need to do more with him. I like his design. I think he looks cool, but yeah, don't really have much else to say about Varan. Next we have, as some call, the queen of the monsters herself, Mothra. Come on, I gotta throw her on S tier as well. I mean, Mothra is she's just a badass. I mean, like, she probably dies more than any other kaiju in these films, but there's something, like, magical and just just mystical about Mothra, and I've loved just about every design that she's had, and yeah, she's just great. Mothra's kind of a cutie, and she's also a badass too. I really like her a lot, so Mothra gets a lot of love from me. The Mothra fairies, eh. I love that they went with this dorky design of King Kong. He's only been in one Godzilla film, however, as you all know, and as of the posting of this, it might even be tomorrow, Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. So the great rematch of the two titans is happening, which I'm excited about. King Kong is a classic monster from way before Godzilla even existed. He's awesome. Really, probably the monster that brought the whole giant monster, thing to film. And he's amazing, but I'm giving him A tier in terms of Godzilla Kaiju, because he's only been in one film and until this new one, and their fight was pretty good. Like I definitely ranked when I ranked the Showa films, I definitely ranked it more middle of the road and wasn't really super impressed by it when I first watched it, but I've since watched it again actually recently, and I really liked Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla when I watched the fully subbed King Kong versus Godzilla. So really liked that movie, but I think King Kong's just like maybe a step underneath some of the other classic kaiju in my opinion. Next we have King Ghidorah, who I've also got to put in S tier because he's Godzilla's main adversary. He's the one that fights Godzilla in countless movies. He's a badass. He's a gold three-headed dragon. Come on. And he shoots lightning out of his mouth. Like, what do you expect? I gotta put him, I gotta put him on there. He's just a really cool kaiju. Really cool antagonist. Really good villain for Godzilla. And watching them fight, you can't get much better than that, in my opinion. So, awesome. Excellent. Next, we have Baragon, who I'm going to give him B for Baragon. I don't dislike Baragon, but he also kind of suffers the same way that Varan does, except to a little lesser of extent, where he's just not used enough. He had more of a role in GMK, which was good, but otherwise he's like in Destroy All Monsters and a few other little cameos, and they haven't really done much with him. I like his design. I definitely like it more than Varan. He's cool, but yeah, he's underutilized. Use more of Baragon. I'd say he's pretty middle of the road, personally. B for Baragon. Next we have Ebra, which I'm tempted to put in D. I'm going to put him in a low C because I don't hate that design, but it's probably the laziest monster design, I think, of any monster, really, because it's just a giant lobster. I mean, there's a couple other here where I could probably say the same thing. But yeah, Ebra is just literally a giant lobster, and he gets his ass kicked by Godzilla in one film. Although he's in Final Wars for a second, but yeah, nah. Like, he's alright. I'm okay if he doesn't come back. It was kind of cool to see him in Final Wars when I watched that, because it had been so long since he was in a kaiju or Godzilla film. But I didn't really miss him, so yeah, I don't know. He's alright. Next we have Gorosaurus, who is criminally underrated. He's awesome. He's just a cool theropod dinosaur. I really like him. He was badass in Destroy All Monsters. He really did a lot of the heavy work when they were fighting King Ghidorah. But he's not used very much, and it's weird. He hasn't really been seen since the Showa films, as far as I know, at least not in the films. So he's another monster I'd love to see brought back in some fashion. I realize he's pretty much just a giant dinosaur, but I love dinosaurs, so yeah. I don't know. He kind of looks like a sort of less intense version of Godzilla, I guess. Really like him. I think he's great. Bring back Gorosaurus. He's very, very, probably the most underrated kaiju in my opinion. Then we have Kamikaris, Kamikaris, however you say it, which I'm going to put right down with Ebra. He's a giant praying mantis. There's several of them, and they all get their ass kicked by Godzilla. So, not much to say. Don't really miss them. They were alright. Yeah. You know. The spider, Kumanga. I actually like Kumanga a lot. I'm gonna give Kumanga like a high B tier. In Son of Godzilla, Kumanga had the creepy factor going, and then of course popped up in Destroy All Monsters and a few other ones. Really cool design. I hope that's Kumanga that they brought, although it looks different, that they brought into the new Monsterverse, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually got a different name. So why they didn't just bring back Kumanga and created their own like giant spider kaiju, I don't know. But I always like Kumanga. I think it's a little underrated, and while it's not like A level, I wouldn't say, it's still a really good kaiju. It has potential to have some creepy scenes, dark scenes with a, giant spider. Those are always fun. So yeah, bring back Kumanga too. Next we have Manda, which is like a giant snake kind of monster. I love the design of Manda. I'm actually tempted to put Manda like a low A. I'm looking at the rest of the list here. He's going to be a high B for now. It's cool to see him also come back in Final Wars, because he also hadn't really been around since the Showa era. Manda doesn't do much in the in like Destroy All He does a little bit in Destroy All Monsters, and that's about it. So he is another kaiju who like was kind of part of that pool of monsters that Toho had for Destroy All Monsters, but really didn't do much and hasn't done much since. I'd like to see more with Manda. It's really cool to see like a giant snake sea serpent thing. And I know he comes from an earlier Toho movie. He might have came from his own movie, but I can't remember at the moment. So apologize to you diehard fans, but I haven't seen the movie that he's from either. So yeah, bring back Manda. Okay, we're moving on to Manila. Oh man, yeah, he's horrible. I don't know what else to say about Manila. Is there any redeeming qualities to Manila? Moving on. Gaara, also on D tier. Yeah, D tier. So Gaara's from, like, spoiler alert here for whenever I rank all the Godzilla movies. He is from the worst Godzilla film ever, called All Monsters Attack, which is essentially an entire movie about a kid who essentially is like daydreaming about being on Monster Island, and Manila guides him and talks to him, and they fight Gaara, and it's supposed to be like a metaphor for him standing up to bullies and whatnot, and it's just horrible. And yeah, those two deserve the D spot, I have to say. So next we have Hedera, who is the giant smog monster. I don't know how much I love Hedera's movie, but I like his design. It's a very weird movie. It's like, well, I'm first of all going to put him like maybe high B here, but it's a very weird movie. It's very trippy, very strange. Also very slow. Godzilla versus Hedera. So points knocked off for the movie because I wasn't really into the movie. Although I respect it as being definitely one of the weirder Godzilla movies. But I do kind of like his design, and the fact that they just kind of went with this giant smog trash monster was really cool. So yeah, I have to say that I like the kaiju more than the movies from, and I'd like to see him return again. It was cool seeing him as well in Final Wars, but that's really all we've seen of him since the Showa period. So yeah, bring back Hedera. They could probably do something a lot better with him. Gigan, and they have the badass version from Final Wars as well. Gigan, as far as I'm concerned, goes right up there with S tier. I think he's got one of the coolest designs ever. And yeah, I love him. I like the Showa era design, and his Final Wars design is just badass. I'd love to see him come back. It's nice that he came back again after so long as well. But yeah, even so, I keep saying they came back, to Final Wars, and even that movie is like almost 20 years old now. So, I'd love to see like Legendary bring back some of these classic Toho monsters, or even for Toho to do some more. Just do some new films, new Godzilla films with some of these monsters would be great. And Gigan is just so badass. Love Gigan. Just great design. I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this one. I'm going to put Jet Jaguar as like a C. I don't really like him. I know he became a fan favorite. He just doesn't fit Godzilla. He's like a superhero robot thing. And Godzilla vs. Megalon is great for the memes, but in terms of like objectively good film, it's not one. It's one of the worst films as far as I'm concerned. Although it did give us the glory that is the Godzilla dropkick, of course. But yeah, Jaguar, hokey, didn't really like him. Sorry guys, I know a lot of people like him, and I know he's made a resurgence, but he's kind of become a fan favorite over time, but not for me. Just not a big fan of Jet Jaguar. Same with Megalon. Couldn't really get into Megalon. I'll give him like a higher C, maybe. Actually, I'd probably put Varan before him, honestly. But like he's all right. He's like you know what I mean. He was okay, but it just didn't really do much for me either. His design's kind of cool. He's kind of got that like beetle look to him. But Gigan was just way cooler. Godzilla vs. Gigan came out right before that film, and then Gigan is in Godzilla vs. Megalon, and I think Gigan's just a way cooler monster. So maybe it's not fair to compare the two. I think they're kind of similar, and Gigan is just the way better design. So yeah, Megalon's all right. Don't hate him. I'd be okay with seeing Megalon come back. But doesn't do much for me. And he's always randomly in like a bunch of games and stuff, which I don't understand why they always choose Megalon, but whatever, King Caesar's another one that's like could be better, but I'll give King. Nah, he's going in C. Nah. And actually I like Megalon more than King Caesar, so he's going there. Yeah. King Caesar was okay. Was not necessary for Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And then he came back again in Final Wars as well. Kind of comes off to me like a knockoff King Kong, but not nearly as cool. He's alright. His song is kind of cool, I guess. Drags out way too long. But, yeah, I don't know. He's alright. I don't really have much to say about King Caesar. We have the great Mechagodzilla. I'm tempted to put him S tier. I'm going to throw him in a very high A. I do really love Mechagodzilla, but I don't know. Should he go in S tier? I don't know. And for that matter, I'm putting his other forms in there as well. This is the one from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. And then there's also Kiru, which is the one from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. They're all Mechagodzilla as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know which design I like the most. Probably the original, to be honest. I really like the original design. I don't know, the Heisei one's cool too, though. But I don't know, there's rumors that he might pop up in Godzilla vs. Kong, which would be really awesome. I love Mechagodzilla, he's great. But he's just like... If King Kong was like a step underneath the other, or the S tier, Mechagodzilla's like less than half a step under the other guys. I always liked Mechagodzilla a lot, but he's not quite on the same level as like Mothra, Godzilla, Anguirus, all these guys up here. So yeah, but I do love Mechagodzilla. He's classic. He's great. I also really like Titanosaurus. I'm going to put him behind Gorosaurus. I know a lot of people aren't like a huge fan of him, but I thought his design was cool. He doesn't do too much in Terror of Mechagodzilla, but I do really like that film. I think it's better than Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. But yeah, Titanosaurus was cool. It has a cool design. I'd like to see him as well pop up again. I recall, gets his ass kicked by Godzilla because Godzilla fights him and Mechagodzilla at the same time. Badass fight, that, actually. Yeah, he hasn't really done much in a long, long time, and I'd like to see him return. He's cool. Next, we have Biollante getting into the Heisei era. Biollante, I think, is awesome. I'm gonna put him like right here, I guess. Biollante is such a cool idea for a monster, to have basically like a giant plant monster that has Godzilla's DNA intermingled with him, and I just love it. I think he's great. I think that was I thought that was a cool movie. It's my least favorite of the Heisei era, but it's still a really, really great movie. There's really not a bad movie in the Heisei era. So yeah, Biollante is really awesome. Again, another kaiju I'd like to see return. Had a really cool design. Awesome. Mecha King Ghidorah, I think, is going to go right up with King Ghidorah himself, because he's essentially the same and just like an even more badass version of King Ghidorah. That movie that he's from is really, really good. I really like Mecha King Ghidorah. And it seems like, based off of the, spoiler alert, I guess, Godzilla King of the Monsters post-credits, it looks like Mecha King Ghidorah may be making a return, which would be amazing. But yeah, I love Mecha King Ghidorah. I think it made Godzilla, or it's like they made King Ghidorah more badass, and I think he's cooler than Mechagodzilla personally. I think looks awesome. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'd be happy to see Mecha King Ghidorah return, and in the next movie after Godzilla vs. Kong. I hope it's true. And Batra is such an underrated kaiju. I'm tempted to put Batra at S tier, but I'm going to give him an 8. I'm going to actually put him... I'll put him with Mechagodzilla, because I know he's not Mechagodzilla, but he is... I loved Batra in Godzilla vs. Mothra. One of my... probably that was my favorite Godzilla movie of the Heisei era, and Batra was a big part of that. Batra was awesome. Has only been in that movie. Don't know why. I absolutely... No, you know what? Screw it. I'm putting Batra up higher. I love Batra. I think he's so badass, and I would love to see Batra come back. It'd be great. So yeah, bring him back. Bring him bat. Get it? Oh, side note, my wife also loves Batra. She thinks he's cool. He's sort of like the anti-Mothra, which is neat. So anyway, then we have, I guess it's Godzilla Jr. I'm going to give him a B for effort, because Godzilla Jr. was a huge, huge improvement on Manila. But still kind of hokey. I like what Godzilla Jr. becomes, which is great. But yeah, as far as the kaiju goes, like, I was not really ever into the baby Godzilla thing. They did it better with Godzilla Jr., but they really didn't need to do it again. Manila was enough. Please, haven't we suffered enough? But I will say, again, huge improvement on what came before. But otherwise, could take it or leave it. So yeah, so we have Mogira next, who is randomly a pretty big character in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Middle C. He's alright. He's like... I mean, it's kind of cool they brought back a very niche Toho character, monster, robot, whatever you want to call him. I like it for that reason, and that reason only. Him being in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Otherwise, pretty unremarkable. I got really nothing to say about Mogira, to be honest. He wasn't really, as far as I'm concerned, like a very important character, but his design's okay, I guess. And yeah, I'm sorry guys, got nothing. Space Godzilla, awesome. Love Space Godzilla. I'm gonna put him right by King Kong here. cool design. The big crystals on his back are a little weird, but I really liked that movie, and I thought the design was pretty cool. It's a little hokey how Space Godzilla came about, but whatever. He was pretty cool. I would say that having yet another alternate form of Godzilla at that point was getting a little redundant, but nevertheless, I like his design. The fight with him and Godzilla was awesome in that movie, and sort of could take it or leave it. Whether he, bring Space Godzilla back. That'd be awesome. That seems unlikely, but you know, it could happen. I guess I don't know. I think he's really cool. Not quite as cool as like Mechagodzilla, or some of these other kaiju, but he's definitely on the higher echelon of kaiju monsters for sure. Destroya goes right up to S tier. Destroya was awesome. I really loved Destroya. I thought that was one of the strongest films of the Heisei period, and what a way to go out. And as far as I'm concerned, I thought he was just a badass design. I mean, look at him. It was really cool to see like an actual like formidable, foreboding, like badass monster for Godzilla to fight again. And I think he's right up there with King Ghidorah. Like personally, I think I love his design. I think he looks awesome. He has to come back. I think he's a huge fan favorite. And yeah, I would love to see Destroya come back. Awesome. Zilla goes down. He's better than Manila, but that Zilla, of course, is the first attempt at the American version of Godzilla, which did horribly. I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. Looking back on it, I liked it, but now I think I would really be a lot more critical of it because I'm such a huge Godzilla fan now. And yeah, the design is not very good. He looks like a giant iguana. That's about it. Yeah, there's a reason that in Final Wars he gets fucking blasted by Godzilla. So yeah, it was definitely Toho's middle finger to what is it, TriStar's attempt at a Godzilla movie. But yeah, all the way at bottom tier as far as I'm concerned. So then we have Orga from spoiler alert again, one of my absolute favorite Godzilla movies, Godzilla 2000. I thought the fight with Orga was one of my absolute favorite kaiju fights in the entire series. So I think Orga, just for that alone, deserves to go up. I love Gorosaurus. I'm going to just put him just a little below Gorosaurus. I know Gorosaurus is probably too high for some of you, but I love him. Orga was cool. That scene where they're fighting and Orga literally just like opens its mouth and like essentially eats Godzilla, and then Godzilla just blasts him with his atomic breath. Amazing scene. As far as I'm concerned, you can't get much better than that. Awesome movie. Really, really awesome kaiju. Again, would love to see him come back too. Then we got Megaguirus. That was a good movie. A step down, I would say, from Godzilla 2000, but I still really liked it. So I would put Megaguirus maybe a high B. I'm going to put him just under Hedera because I do really like Hedera. So yeah, that's kind of like a middle of the road kaiju, but I still like its design. It's really cool looking. As far as I'm concerned, none of the Millennium films were really weak at all. I thought they were all very good, and Megaguirus was cool, but like I said, it just suffers a little bit because I thought Orga was way cooler. So I don't know. It was definitely an upgrade from like the praying mantises and the just giant insects of old for sure. So yeah, definitely points for that. And now the final kaiju we have is Monster X, also known as, well, I won't spoil it for those of you. I guess I could spoil it, but it's basically King Ghidorah. This thing is like crazy. I'm putting it right up here in A tier. I'll put it next to Batra. That thing was so badass at the end of Final Wars. I loved it. It was so cool. And again, another one I'd like to see return. I'm okay with these many versions of King Ghidorah. Keep doing it because King Ghidorah is great. I love him. One of the coolest like villains in movie history as far as I'm concerned. Well, guys, that's it. That's all the Godzilla Kaiju ranked. I had a blast doing this. I love this. I love Godzilla movies. I'm loving this week so far. It's been really fun. I would be really interested to see what other people's lists are, or, you know, what kaiju you think I maybe rank too high, what I rank too low. You know, I think some of the obvious ones are there. You know, I really don't feel like any of the S tier ones aren't deserving. I think they all are pretty obvious. Once you get into like the B, C tier, I know that's where it gets a little different. But I love all these kaiju, even the horrible ones. I love these movies. Godzilla Week strikes again. Yes. Stay tuned, guys. We're just getting started here. I got a whole bunch more content coming up this week, or I'm hoping to anyway. I still want to play some games. Got to see Godzilla vs. Kong. There's going to be so many more things coming up. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I appreciate you watching this tier list of all the kaiju. Until next time, love y'all. Peace.